Welcome back to the Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast. The recap of the openings weekend. We've got Omloop Nieuwsblad, or it's called Omloop Nieuwsblad now. I don't know where the het has been removed. They didn't pay enough or something. And we've got the men and women's race. We've also got Ardèche over in France, where, yes, maybe something holy happened over there. No spoilers. But first, obviously, the big race was Omloop Nieuwsblad. Van der Poel, even heavier favourite than when we did the preview. When we did the preview in the weekly, Benji, Van Aert being out wasn't public yet?
Correct.
Okay.
He was not officially out yet, but let's be honest about it. You and I spoke on the podcast, and our conclusion, at least my conclusion, was that I don't think Wout van Aert exiting the race beforehand impacted the flowing of the race too much, and I still think the same after seeing the race. But we had quite a few riders hyped up before this race started, and can I be honest, Patrick? I did not understand the Poel hype for this Omloop Nieuwsblad. And I've said it before this race, I'm saying it after this race. For Kuurne, I understand Poel to be a candidate for that, a high candidate. But for Omloop, especially a race that is so attack-focused, I'm sorry, but 2 Algarve stage victories in a sprint don't mean anything to me for Omloop. Isn't that fair?
Yeah, it's got really nothing to do with the classic. It does show his sprint's good, but we knew that already. Yep. I mean, he won 10 sprints in a row last year. He won 10 races in a row or something. So it's not... I agree. Also, Sturven was out with sickness as well.
Correct.
So the 2 Belgian Classics veterans both out. That weakens the Quick-Step team. I thought Sturven was going to be Quick-Step's best finisher, actually, because the weather forecast was cold, rainy, more of an attritional race than last year. There was crosswind talk. It didn't eventuate, even though the wind was strong. But yeah, Van der Poel I do think Van Aert being out changes one thing. It's just another rider who, in an easier 200k classic, can try and follow Van der Poel and has followed him in the past.
Yep.
So that did, I think, free the shackles of Van der Poel even more, and something else freed the shackles of him even more, which was this race was... First of all, when it turned the TV on, I didn't regret not having coverage before. Nothing had happened. I was thinking that Peloton is remarkably chill for, I'm hearing 40 kilometer an hour winds, and then you look, they're chatting to each other in front with 90 Ks to go.
Yeah, but to me it felt like when I heard the weather conditions for this race to be 30 to 40 kph winds, but mostly in the latter part being cross tailwind and tailwind then I didn't really say to myself, okay, I'm expecting echelons now in the first half of this race, because that's not really how Omloop has been in the historical fashion either with high winds in the past. So I wasn't really expecting it, despite the wind being high enough for, on paper, crosswinds to happen. There were some moments in the race where it definitely impacted the fatigue of the riders, where some splits happen and so forth, but we'll get to that. I want to start off with the breakaway before we even get to the point that you're talking about, Patrick. 5 riders in the break. Jelte Krijnsen was a pretty solid rider before he joined Jayco 1.5 years ago. He's been a bit stagnating since, I would say. Alexis Renard in that breakaway together with Clément Aleno, Vincent van Hemelen, and Alexis Brunel. So 5-man breakaway. 2 minutes 30 in the peloton. And in that peloton, we see 2 teams controlling. That's already a red flag for me. That should be 1 team controlling if Mathieu van der Poel is at the start, right?
I think Quick-Step started to believe their own marketing stuff. No, like where we signed Van Baarle and Sturven, the Wolf Pack is back. So, okay, relax a little bit. Like, it should be, you use one of the Urukai to control. Also, I think the actual control phase pre-camera, yeah, whatever. Okay, yeah. Put someone whatever, but we both disagree with it. When the coverage started, it was more like people were positioning their leaders, and I would always encourage teams, take your cue from Alpecin, Van der Poel, and Urukai. If Alpecin are at the back, chatting, if Van der Poel and Philipsen are pissing, chill out. You don't need to fight for every corner, because they know something you don't. We don't even know it. They are like as I said, Urukai are literally from the earth, created. They are from, what's the place called? Isengard.
Isengard, correct.
They know which corner is important. They know which phase of the race is important because they're from... I'm only being half joking. They do know the course and the conditions better than everyone. So And then I think the bigger problem is in the pre-Eichenberg phase.
Yeah.
Quickstep killed 2 guys for what?
Just for positioning every single corner.
But like they were sprinting some corners. For what?
True. We'll get to it. 87 kilometers to go. Crash in the peloton. The first of many crashes in this race, including Florian Vermeersch, who will become an important factor in this race later, together with Otto Vergaarde and Per Strand Hagenes. I think Vergaarde might have abandoned after this crash, but I'm not completely certain. And then from that point onwards, we see that battle for positioning that you're pointing towards. And I want to go for some specific moments here. 85 kilometers to go, wide roads. We see Naesen, Bora, Pinarello fighting for a position at the front. But Pinarello's at the front, but their leader's at the back. Pidcock's off the back of the group, fighting with a raincoat. And I gotta say, I have not seen such a fight with a raincoat since the Passo dello Stelvio, Jai Hindley battles of 2020, because Pidcock fought for 10 minutes with that raincoat. In the end, he won, but at what cost? Did he spend too much energy during this moment? We'll see later in the race. There's another crash following. With 79 kilometers to go, Groves crashes, Bevoort, but this was like 8 to 10 riders, I feel like, and it held up Pidcock from coming back from his jacket moment, which then resulted in, at the front of the peloton, Quickstep, like you say, sprinting for corners, which led to Pidcock being quite a bit behind, and then Aimé de Gent had to wait his teammate to get him back to the front. So I want to portray this phase as a phase where Quickstep is wasting a lot of energy sprinting for every corner. Like, I think the Haaghoek was a perfect example where they sprinted, and then after the corner, they try and block it up to try and stay at the front, which that's a solid strategy, but it takes so much energy every single corner. And on the opposite side, Pidcock is also spending a lot of energy after fighting his raincoat and being blocked behind a crash. So that's two parties who are spending some bickies, as some Australian man in this podcast would say, pretty early in the race. But I think the next phase was it with 70 kilometers to go roughly, where we saw some crosswind action on a road?
Yeah, we saw it started to kick off, and then the producers decided to just cover the breakaway for literally 5 minutes straight. Like 5 full minutes straight. But nothing happened, so maybe they're the ones that are wiser than us. But I don't know why. By the way, Aimé de Gent, you mentioned him, Benji.
Yeah.
He finishes 5th today.
Really?
Yeah.
Whoa, that's a great result.
Yeah, fucking oath it is. He top 10 the E3 last year when he anticipated, when he was on Cofidis. Now he's 5th. He won he won the group sprint. No spoilers, but he won the group sprint. That is crazy. That is
a great sprinter in my head.
As I said, today was more attritional than yesterday, and you see than last year.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck happened yesterday?
Yeah, me on the turbo trainer. Speaking of which, I just did. What a segue! Gotcha. I just got on the trainer while the women's race was on. And I realized that I was way underneath my carb intake today. Luckily, I had Morton to hand. I've been chowing it down, hopefully muted during this pod, whilst I'm hoping Benji goes on extended monologues. And if you want to check out Morton and their offering, you can get 15% off using code LRCP15 at checkout. Try it out. It's unbelievable stuff, especially in hot conditions, especially if you're pushing the carb intake. They've got gels, drink mixes. The hydrogel technology means that. I've heard about people with stomach issues. The hydrogel technology lets you push those carbs, especially if you're in the hot temperatures in Australia, which I know people are, but I guess in Europe, if you're indoors on the trainer, it's hot temperatures too, and nutrition is almost or maybe even more important when the internal load is high. So go check it out through the link down below. Thanks to Morton for supporting the show. Quickstep have used up their team. They then disappear. There's then another crash. There's a succession of like 3 crashes in 5Ks. It's really bad. I don't know whether has the weather been good in Belgium and then it just rained today?
To be honest, the 2-3 days I spent in Belgium in the last week was super sunny. And then it switched the day I left. So I think I brought the sunshine and I took it with me back to the UK, because in the UK here, it's actually quite sunny. So I apologize to every rider. It's my fault that you crashed today. Jokes aside, Oliveira, Herregots, Flanders Baloise riders, Sénéchal, Gachignard, Frison, Honoré, Leroux, 3 Ineos riders there. So many crashes, but
Kung.
did we see any like specifics on how they happened? It just looks like it's stress for positioning in general, leading to a brake check there accidentally happening, causing a rider to crash behind them. Then some riders intertwining in the middle of the road, fighting for a position, causing a crash behind them. Lots of stuff like that.
I think the roads were really slippery because it was like transition, dry, wet.
Okay.
And it especially happened when riders were hitting the corner. So Kung's crash, they're on the edge of the road. One guy makes a mistake on the lip, and then you can't brake behind. And we saw a lot of like 10-pin bowling style crashes, which is what Kung, he crashed really hard. Kubis crashes in a corner, not a serious crash, not a serious one. He just lays, maybe he was behind someone who like slowed in, really a tight right-hander. That person in front of him is Manier. Manier has a mechanical. He gets a Shimano neutral bike. He decides against it. He doesn't. I think Jordi Mayus got like a child's Shimano neutral bike in Kona last year or something, and it like was so small underneath him. Manier waits for his own team car, but this is now 15 minutes, 20 minutes before the Molenberg, maybe 15 minutes before the Molenberg. Big problems because the peloton's now speeding up. Philipsen has a mech. I thought they did the rear wheel change quickly, but it took him out of the peloton too. And now you've got the two sprint favorites alongside Brennan in a group behind, and Quickstep have just got one rider, Reinderink, I think, pulling, or Enkhorn or Pedersen.
I assume so as well. I think it was Reinderink maybe, but that said, I didn't understand what was happening with Pidcock at this time, because at a certain point I see him off the back of the, I was going to say GC group, there's no GC in a one-day race, but the favorites group, the leftovers of the peloton, because I can't really call it the bike peloton anymore, because half of the riders have hit the deck here, and I couldn't tell you, it looked like he was struggling, but then later he was back in the peloton with multiple teammates, so maybe just a mechanical or something that we didn't notice, or just a bad moment in the race. Not sure what happened there, but you're right, there's this chasing group maybe 20-ish seconds behind with Philipsen and with Manier, with those two teams trying to get something going to get back towards the front. Breakaway still ahead, by the way, at this point, at the Wolvenberg phase with about 57 kilometers to go. The gap is about 1:15, and that's when we see a move by Kasper Asgreen to try and get away before the Molenberg happens, and he does get a gap for a bit, but spoilers, he is caught before relevant moments happen, and it's Alpecin, who was already present on the Eikenberg with Plancard and Gross, who once again controls behind in this entire phase leading up to the Molenberg. So to me, it looked like they were trying to get Van der Poel as far as possible in the race to then see Van der Poel open it up. And that's a strategy they often use in these classics. And in this moment, it looks to be working. But about the crashes, Patrick, you think it's related to, do you think it's helped that the handlebars are less wide? Because I didn't notice today any positive influence.
Yeah, so many crashes, unfortunately. I don't know. I'd have to see the data on that if it exists. It doesn't.
It doesn't.
It doesn't. Anyway, we get to the Molenberg. I blame Luke here. Luke's part of the Rudhoff network. Luke texts the group. Thank God the peloton's thinned out before the Molenberg. Because last year in the Molenberg, it was a passive race. And it was a full peloton in, like sprint lead outs, wave, chopping. And there was a crash, and then it like split in the middle of the Molenberg, and it was, chaotic afterwards. Anyway, we see Søren Kragh Andersen positioning Vacek. I get it. They went all in for Vacek. Skirmers was a bit deeper. We see Van der Poel's in good position. UAE, I want to give credits to Julius Johansson. He positioned them from the phase before the climb before the Molenberg. He did that pull and then put them already in the line. So UAE did a fantastic job. Pollitt moved up. So Vermeersch, Florian, that is in position. Bora in good position with Pithi, Mayus, the Van Dijk brothers, Gianni Vermeersch. Visma have the main guys in position, but not the team there. But they do have Laporte, Zangler, Hagenaz, and Brennan in good position. Unlike last year, they turn left onto the Molenberg. Vermeersch opens it. Florian, that is. He starts attacking. Someone drops the wheel. Van der Poel goes to close it, but then Ploemers goes underneath him in a corner. Ploemers on Tudor. Tudor had terrible trouble with crashes today. Yep. He crashes in front of Van der Poel, exiting this right-hander in the Molenberg, and Van der Poel he's going down. Like he's on the cobbles, skidding. The bike is almost horizontal. He puts the foot out and just rights himself with his left foot unclipped out on wet cobbles and keeps attacking.
That was an insane save to me. Absolute shock that Van der Poel was able to stay upright. If you put, I'm going to say it, every single other rider in the peloton, maybe except the Pidcock or something.
95% crash.
No, more. 99.7% of the peloton crash in this moment. Like, that's the reality. So this is no luck. This is simply being one of the best riders when it comes to your technique and having the reflexes of a Counter-Strike Source esports gamer. Insanity. The way he was able to avoid Rick Reimers on this crash. And it actually does benefit him that he has that ability to save it because he gets past it, and a Laporte that might not have those abilities. Let's be honest about it. We've seen his Roubaix a couple of times. He is not able to get around that easily. I think on one side, we do see another rider that is able to pass quite well, which is Tim van Dijk. And that causes a split in the group, right? We see Florian Vermeersch, Tim van Dijk, and Van der Poel.
Not yet.
Not yet?
So at the end of the Molenberg, Van der Poel's still off the wheel of Vermeersch.
Okay, yeah.
He closes it. He's pulling it. Tim van Dijk's not there. He's not there. Hagenes starts pulling with Brennan full. It was a group of like 2 Vismas, 2 Boras. Hagenes steps off and Tim van Dijk, bang, bridges across to the group. Race over. So like really smart from Tim van Dijk the way he did it. Bora also today much better than last year's opening weekend. Like they had numbers. They had the riders doing the right things in the right places at the right time. Pithy was good. Mayus was good. Vermeersch probably helped them.
Well, you said race over. Technically, we were feeling like the race was over. But technically, there's still stuff possible because at this point, the gap is minimal, right? It's like 20 seconds, 25 seconds. Okay, what will happen now? Are we looking at Tim van Dijk and Florian Vermeersch and are we saying, okay, are these guys going to ride with Mathieu van der Poel? The breakaway is still ahead. 4 riders left. Krijns and Renard, Van Hemelen and Brunel. And obviously behind there, we've got quite a few riders who missed the split to this Van der Poel, Van Dijk, Vermeersch group, including Visma with Brennan, Ineos, like you say. Quickstep, obviously, because they were bringing Manier back in the process.
Lotto.
We also had Lotto with Arnold Liens.
With good numbers.
Cedric Berlins in between for a while, I think, that then pulled back and then they started pacing together with that second group. I saw the theme of Decathlon also pacing quite a bit after this, with Oliver Naesen and so forth for their leader in this race.
But it was Lotto first. The gap goes to 1 minute. Visma aren't pulling. It's Lotto just pulling. When it goes to 1 minute, the groups come back. Laporte was not even, he was in like this 3rd group because he had to put the foot down on the Molenberg. I think the interesting discussion here is Benji, like we all know what's going to happen. If you ride with Van der Poel and you go to the Moor, you're getting dropped, you're going to lose. 100% guarantee, right? How do you look at the strategies or the approach here of Vermeersch and Tim van Dijk?
I've got 2 angles. Angle 1 is Benji Naesen wants a close race. So Benji Naesen says, Florian and Tim, why the fuck are you riding with Mathieu van der Poel? You know you're not going to win the race if you do so. You're helping a competitor win the race, while another strategy might be more successful for your team to win the race. That's angle 1. Angle 2 is, hi, my name is Florian Vermeersch. I've had shit results in classics for the last 2 years, partially because of bad luck and an injury, I think 2.5 years ago.
He's out of contract.
So I'm looking for a result here. That detail is very important. He's out of contract at UAE Team Emirates. If I ride with Van der Poel, there's a realistic chance for me to podium this race.
And who's behind for him?
There's no one behind for UAE that is super relevant outside of Tim Wellens, maybe as a secondary candidate who, if these guys get caught, could then try and go for a flyer or something like that. But it's not an obvious candidate to win the race either, I would say. So Florian Vermeersch's position, I can understand. I can understand the selfish position of, if I can podium this race, then it's probably one of the better results that UAE can get here, because Wellens winning is not the biggest chance in the world, right?
I mean, it's like, should Pollard be criticized for what he did with Tratnik in 24? Like, probably it's later in the race, but yeah. So I think with Vermeersch, obviously, when you look at it from a team perspective, if your idea is, does there's super teams, should two super teams want to win the race? We as fans are thinking yes. Why are you pulling more than Van der Poel, Florian Vermeersch?
Yeah.
When you look at it from an individual perspective, how does Vermeersch sitting on, the group comes back, Niels Pollitt attacks, Niels Pollitt then loses. How does that help Florian Vermeersch?
And ironically, we can say, oh, Florian, then try and find the balance, try and pace a little bit less and try and balance it so that you're
that's what he really should have done.
Yes, but if he does that, then the gap to the group behind might be smaller and he might not survive compared to... Because hypothetically, there's a realistic chance that Vermeersch gets dropped on the Muur van Gerardsbergen and gets caught by the group behind by the finish line. So for that, you have to pace as much as possible for the Muur to try and extend your gap as much as possible. So there's so many angles here.
I think that's really how he approached it.
It also kind of depends on the outcome. Because if the outcome is Vermeersch is not podium, we're going to look at it and say, told you so, buddy. If he does podium the race, then we can be like, okay, sure, Florian did the right thing. You know, it's kind of one of those occasions where it does get defined by the outcome. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and you're right. Like, if he starts to play, if he accepts straight away, I'm getting dropped by Van der Poel on the Muur straight away.
Did he? I actually think he believed he could win. I actually genuinely believe he could.
No, there's no way. That's delusional.
Wow, some riders are delusional, Patrick.
There's no way he thought he could win.
Sorry, Patrick, but I genuinely believe that he thought there was a chance that he could
do it. They both won a podium. Vermeersch, like Benji said, if you think, okay, 5Ks before the Muur, now I'll sit on because I need to try to follow Van der Poel, right? If you think you can win and follow Van der Poel, then you sit on for the 5K run-in. You don't pull harder than him. But like you say, if you do that, the peloton might come 20 seconds closer. Van der Poel will still have a big enough gap, but you might not anymore. And he eventually comes podiums by about 30 seconds. I think Tim van Dijk, you cannot criticize how Bora played this. You can't. Van Dijk didn't pull. He pulled initially to create the gap. That's totally fine. And he also sat on a bit. He didn't pull. He made sure he did not get dropped by Vermeersch on Muur-Bosberg.
And when he pulled, instead of going into third position behind Vermeersch and Van der Poel, he moved into last position behind the fellow breakaway riders they caught to try and limit the amount of relays he would do in the first place. But I'll throw it back to you so you can continue.
But yeah, you Bora, first of all, they're playing it the best way. Van Dijk sits on, they can't control what Vermeersch is doing. If Van Dijk sits on, it comes back. They got fresh Pithy, fresh Meeus, fresh Mick Van Dijk. He's in the race.
I think so.
Hold on. Yeah, he was. Yeah, they had 3 guys still that made the final group. So then you still have, they haven't had to do anything. They got a lead out. They got attackers. We look at how much they were covering after Bosberg. I think Bora did exactly the right strategy. You also, and he didn't have to pull because Vermeersch was pulling so hard. So it was a logical one. And from an individual perspective, it's hard to criticize Vermeersch either.
I think so as well. And like, yes, we kind of went over the hypothetical, but Van der Poel indeed goes to the Muur with these guys and drops them. There was a bit of a moment where it looked like Vermeersch had some kind of mechanical, had to move behind Van Dijk, but then once it got going again, it looked like the legs also had a mechanical, to be honest. So I don't think that bike problem was necessarily the one that put him in the ground here. Van der Poel rode away and wins this race, wins Omloop Nieuwsblad. There's a stat that exists, Patrick, which we mention every year. If you win Omloop, statistically, there is 0 chance you win the Tour of Flanders because it's never been done, the combination in men's cycling.
Yeah, but you know what else has never been done? Winning cyclocross worlds in Omloop. And he just did it.
Yeah.
Fair. Did you see on that dog that scared the shit out of me when we went to Flanders on the corner in the Muur?
Yes. On the Muur van Gerardsbergen
it was
on the right.
Barking at the riders doing the recon yesterday, and it scared me when I listened to the video.
Can I go on a rant?
Sure.
So it's not a serious rant. Well, it is a serious rant, but like before this race, like I post on my social media, okay, try and not use flares at races. I saw a couple of idiots using flares at races. Don't like that. Try and don't use your phone over the barrier. Like the basic rules of respect to the peloton that you should have as a spectator. But can I also demand similar respect from riders, where I saw at least 20 riders on footpaths forcing spectators to move out of the position where they should be standing on the footpath, endangering those spectators in the process. The UCI is not enforcing any yellow cards to try and penalize this behavior. Like, the riders also have limited respect for the spectators on those footpaths, in my opinion. So I think that's something the riders should work on.
So Manier flattered maybe.
I didn't see it.
Hit a corner too tight off the road. Maybe he just had his back wheel smashed into by Kubis. I didn't see it perfectly. But yeah, Van der Poel wins. Vermeersch and Van Dijk, they hold on for second and third. And in the group behind, we see some attacks. And this is why I was saying it's more of an attritional race. On the Bosberg, Tobias Lund Andersen was the strongest, I believe.
Correct.
He's in magic shape. That Cadel Evans form is being franked here. But he was isolated, I think. And we have, attacks from Trentin, like the hard man. Manier's back in that group, though. So, should Dylan Van Baarle have waited for the Manier group, Benji? Is the question I have.
Ooh. I don't know. I don't think it would have changed the outcome of the race too much, to be honest.
Yeah, you never know.
Of course, you never know.
But at that moment, Dylan Van Baarle he's never been in better shape, so it's hard to call him back.
Yes, but it's also that late in the race where Van Baarle is not going to be that competitive from the position he is in, so then you might as well call him back.
Yeah. Anyway, Laporte sneaks away, I think with Aimé de Gent, actually. I lied. It wasn't de Gent winning the sprint. I think he snuck away with de Gent and attacked him in the final. And with
Biffy, right? I think Biffy was in the wheel as well. And
got was with
caught
Trentin,
in the final stretch.
That was when they were with Trentin.
Oh, yeah. You're right. That was when they were with Trentin. But that's hammering the point home, right?
Red Bull were very good.
Moment where Biffy was covering those moves, and I think another rider of Bora did similar at a certain point with a move as well. But
it was Meus himself.
And then Meus in the group, when those groups got caught, Meus and the other Bora riders spoke to each other, and it looked like they were expressly telling each other, just cover moves, don't start pacing for a sprint for Meus, because we're protecting that podium spot for Tim van Dijken. So they had a clear plan. So I applaud your applauding for Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe, because they rode a phenomenal team-based race. No victory, but the best result outside of that.
Yeah, they rode a very, very good race. And it's not like you could say, oh, well, if Red Bull helped pull the peloton with Visma and Lotto, could they have won?
Probably not. I
don't think so. Because Vermeersch is pulling with Van der Poel. I don't think so. And, you still end up with second with Tim van Dijk, and you let him race. And that's also, you might lose his confidence for the rest of spring if you pace behind him in a group like that. So I think they played it correctly. Good to see Laporte in good shape after his crash in Andalusia. But speaking of crashes, there was a crash of De Lee and Brennan, two men that were being paced for, crashed as well in just like a massive, just another crash.
Yeah, with about 18k to go, and it did probably impact the chase, because that's Lotto and Visma out of that chase for that portion of the race, and Laporte was then attacking post Bosberg, of course. So it might have impacted quite a bit. It was close to the Muur though, but I don't think it impacted the outcome. But it might impact their form a bit for tomorrow. I don't think the hit the deck though. It looked like the Lee was like hit, but not necessarily hitting the floor in the process. So I'm more questioning, okay, was Brennan hit? What does that mean for tomorrow? Because obviously tomorrow is Kuurne, Brussels, Kuurne, which is more usually more of a sprinter classics, but I think the wind conditions are once again tailwind is from what I've been perceiving, no?
I haven't checked.
Lund Andresen looking pretty good for it.
Lund is fucking good. I think he's doing Tirreno. There's some good stages for him there. But I was saying, they have to go all in for Lund in San Remo, right? I don't know what his schedule was, but Lund should be their leader in San Remo and Gent-Wevelgem. And Dwars-Dour.
He's on Milano-San Remo list together with La Brosse, La Perra, and Aurélien Paré-Peintre.
Okay, they might need a little bit of heavier guys there to help, but anyway.
Paul Success?
Why not? We'll get to him in a second. I think this could have been a very, very good race without the Plomas crash. I think you have a MVDP bomber. I think you have a couple more guys in his group. I think you have more games. I think MVDP drops everyone on the Moor, whatever happens. I think he fucking nuked that.
Yeah.
So
I think so as well. And it still was a better race than last year, because last year was a disgraceful watch.
you didn't like
Such
it?
a passive race. I did not like it at all. The winner was fun because it was like a surprise
Yeah.
winner, but it was not a good race to watch. It was it was not the greatest opening weekend I've ever seen, that's for sure. Probably the worst we've covered on the podcast, if I say so myself, last year. This year I'm happy. I don't know. I enjoyed the race. I enjoyed the race. And yes, I knew much of Van der Poel would win, but while I was watching that, I could also start looking at who is gonna potentially compete in the women's race. So do we cover that first, or do we go to success first? What do we do?
I'll do the women's race, but I want to just give a couple of shout outs to maybe some surprise performers. I think Lotto and Intermarché were very good.
Okay.
With Berkmo's and Billions still making the front group despite Dali crashing. Luke Lamperti, top 10 on EF. They'll be happy with that. Renard from the early break, top 10.
Kopecki?
And yes, and he was my next man, Maciej Kopecki for Unibet Rose Rockets in his first classic for them. Yeah, as I said at the time, I think I rarely tweet support in other in support of other teams' signings. Obviously, I hope they all fail, but in his, I made an exception. I was like, that is a very, very good signing, and that's a good result for them. And I'm also happy that Lawrence Pithy is back in shape. And
Same.
okay, onto the women's race. This was a little bit more passive, no gaps going into really it was more attritional before the Moor, but it was more crashes that broke it up from what I could tell.
Yeah, that's true. Like, I started watching with about 40 kilometers to go when I saw a move by Elise Chabi, and there were 3 riders following: Nina Berton, Gasparini for UAE, and then Asebe, I think that's how you pronounce it, for UNOX. Berton is EF, by the way. Chabi is at FDG Suez. So that's the 4 people at the front from this point. They get a bit of a gap on the peloton behind, and there we see quite a bit of SD Works and FDG Suez controlling. This is not the first attack by Chabi, by the way. I think she attacked on the segment before Leeberg as well. But like you said, there's a bit of a passive stretch from all the way from the Leeberg to maybe just before the Muur van Gerardsbergen, because the next thing on my notes is a massive crash with about 19k to go, which is 1 to 2 kilometers before the Muur. And it's actually a very influential crash, Patrick, indirectly, I think, because in that crash we saw Zoe Bakstedt, Jaskulska, an SD Works rider, many other riders on the floor, like a mass crash. But it looked like the crash happened by the front rider of that crash hitting the back wheel of Lotte Kopecky. And we see Lotte Kopecky looking down at her back wheel.
She heard something.
Maybe a mechanical, maybe something like that. I thought, she's still in the group. She's gonna compete for the victory. So I didn't think anything of it. I didn't think she had a mechanical. I go to Twitter, I type, I feel like this is a Lotte Kopecky day. 2 seconds later, Sportza commentator says, mechanical for Lotte Kopecky. Yep. I jinxed it.
You jinxed it. She was out. It's similar to the Manier, a mechanical actually. But this was, her derailleur, which is not an easy fix. We see that group ahead of Berton, Chabi, Gasparini. This is the style of FDJ. They, even with the overwhelming favorite, they love to be represented in front and not pull behind. And today it was fine because it's a really hard race, actually, this final of the Muur and the Bosberg. So it worked out. Last year, they didn't want to pull. We all know what happened. This year, they were making no mistake. I think one of the signings of this season will be Franziska Koch, because she has been desperate for a class, like top tier leader, and she can do incredible things for a top tier leader. She climbs really well. She paces really well. You're making a face, Benji.
Yeah, I just saw a picture of, sorry, I didn't mean to make a face at Rick Plimer's face. I didn't mean it like that, but he broke his 2 front teeth in his crash on the cobbles.
Jeez, that's no good.
Yeah, it looked painful, so I didn't mean it in like a, that's what Rick Plimer's look like. It was more like a, his teeth, you know? No offense to Rick.
I'm sure hopefully he gets that fixed up and he's back. He's been in good shape the last year and a half. Anyway, Franziska Koch just immediately starts a lead out for Vollering. I think the mistake of the other teams is, where were they? They let AG Insurance, who'd been pacing, in the middle, and I'm like, this is it. This is it. Jeremy Irons in marginal call. Margin call. Why are you letting AG Insurance domestiques get in between you if you're Niewiadoma? Name them.
It's a positioning issue for everybody except for AG Insurance and Edwiges is at this point at the foot of the Westen of the Muur van Gerardsberg. And I gotta say, Franziska Koch was already an element before the Muur started when it comes to the controlling of the peloton. For her to then be the leading factor here, to be honest, Vollering went to the front first, Koch came to the front and past her, started pacing those bottom slopes of the Muur, and honestly, amazing transfer. We said it when it happened, and it's already paying off in this fast race, because it's not just that she started pacing, she started gapping because the AG Insurance riders started having trouble following the tempo of Vollering and Koch here. She was shredding the group apart, and there was one rider that, from the people that were not in position, bridged towards Vollering's wheel during the process of this Muur van Gerardsbergen, and it is Kasia Niewiadoma. Wiebes and so forth, not there. Kopecki's off the back of the peloton trying to come back, so we don't see her either. It was pretty much a two-team game from this point onwards for the victory. Is that fair to say?
One person.
Okay. We'll get to that. I've got my movie reference coming later.
Okay, but yeah, what's the women's race with the cobbled uphill sprint that Charlotte Cole dropped her chain in every year? Maybe, is it Bash?
Bashima Bash?
Yeah, I think it's Bash. It's an uphill cobble sprint, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, Franziska Koch always did mutant lead-outs on that. And that's what she did today. And she's the rider I think Demi's been missing. I think
a lot of teams are missing.
I think a lot of teams, because when you see where she actually finished, she finishes 5th, by the way. So brilliant. Yeah, I think actually every team could do with Franziska Koch, but lost my Kasia. I thought, well, I was just surprised by the gap, honestly. Like Wiebes, do you not expect her a bit closer, like on the Muur? It's not that hard.
I walked up it when we went to there.
No, but like she, like her 1 minute value, absolutely, like her 1 minute compound score. I know it's maybe longer than 1 minute, but
for the people that don't know, what is a compound score?
Compound score is watts times by the watts per kilo, and so it gives especially on cobbles or more moderate gradients, which these aren't. They're not moderate gradients, but in the men's, it's still big boys doing well on the Muur. You would think with her raw seated power that she'd be able to stick. But I was just surprised by the gap. Not that she got dropped, but just how big the gap was.
Yeah, the gap was bigger than I expected, you're right. And I think that's partially because of Koch as well. And also because of the fact that there was multiple positions in between Vollering and Wiebes in the first place when the climb started. Doesn't help either. So I thought, okay, these people are not coming back. They've got limited teammates as well. Maybe Van der Breggen can get into that groove with Wiebes as well, and they can try and force something. But the gap at the top was actually not unbeatable. I think it was like 20 seconds at the top, and then it expanded to like 40 seconds by the time we passed the Bosberg. Is that fair? But was there a moment before the Bosberg where, to be clear, it's now Niewiadoma and Demi Vollering? The rest, Koch is gone. She's in Narnia now, which is allowed. Well, not in Narnia. She's in the group behind, to be clear. But there was a moment at the foot of the Bosberg, just at the foot, before it starts even, where either Niewiadoma or Demi Vollering look at each other, and I think it's Demi in second position behind Niewiadoma, and one says to the other, "Do not attack." And I can't tell who it was of the two. I've been trying to, on replay, look at it multiple times. At first I thought it was Niewiadoma, but then it sounded very Dutch on replay. I genuinely can't tell. Who do you think it was that said, "Do not attack" before the Bosberg?
I think it'd be Demi, right?
It has to be, logically, right?
Because, like, who is Niewiadoma to tell Demi not to attack? You know? Because if you're Niewiadoma and you tell Demi not to attack, what are you going to do if you're Demi?
And also, Demi shouldn't attack because she has a sprint to beat Niewiadoma in the first place. She doesn't need to. Niewiadoma's the one that needs to attack, so that's why I think it's Demi.
But if I'm Niewiadoma hearing that, I think, well, now I think I really should attack.
But right at that moment, Kasia doesn't have time to think because Demi goes to the front and starts hard spacing the entirety of Bosberg, and I'm not sure Kasia could have attacked from that tempo,
that's the thing. I think Demi was maybe like alphaing her, being like, "Hey, little bro, Don't
Little
bother.
sis.
Don't bother. Hey, little sis. Don't bother attacking. I'll pull you to second if you behave yourself. I think that's what she was doing.
And actually, I feel like
It's kind of true what she did.
it was not the last communication between them either, because we're entering the last 10 kilometers, Patrick, and the gap is now 30 seconds, 40 seconds. It's now to the point where I don't see, despite group 2 and 3 coming together, I don't see them getting back to the front. But I'm entering my phase, Patrick. The last 3 kilometers, I see Demi shouting to Kasia, push, as in to keep relaying, and Kasia keeps relaying into the last 2 kilometers. And Patrick, I was channeling my inner Matthew McConaughey. I was the guy behind the bookshelf in the final of Interstellar, pushing the books inwards, and Kasia didn't listen. She didn't listen. She kept reeling into the final kilometer. I was pushing those bookshelves, Patrick.
Why does she do this? Like, with Vermeersch and Van Dijk, we had an extended discussion about explaining the rationality of their actions. Niewiadoma has won the Tour de France. She won the Tour de France before.
Yeah.
She's lost so many sprints to Demi. So many.
16 out of 20,
She beat her,
excluding today.
she beat her 4 times in a sprint.
Yeah, but it could be that it's literally
But not
like
for the win.
Yeah, not for the win. Just in general.
Yeah, I don't. For the win, has she ever beaten her in a sprint?
I don't know. Can't remember one. If you count Flesh.
Okay. I mean, fuck. That's like the 3-minute wall. No, I'm not counting Flesh. I think it's Kasia pulling's fine, whatever. Until 2Ks to go, she starts sitting on, and I'm like, oh, okay, you're gonna sit on at least for the last 2Ks to save face, like you are gonna at least try to win. Then she pulls through onto the Flamme Rouge. I was like, what are you doing?
It's so sad.
It is sad, yeah.
Every year, by the way, like every year at least once.
She had no one in the group behind in her defense.
At this point, it's fun. It was frustrating. Now it's fun.
What was the race where I said he had to stop pulling earlier? Figueira Champions Classic with Aaron Broe. Sitting on in the last K when the gap is big doesn't work. It doesn't.
I know you've got this decade-long obsession with Aramburu, but you don't have to pull him into every conversation, Patrick.
Well, I do. The only way she can beat Demi is a full-on meltdown if she sits on the last 4Ks and the gap starts to get really tight to like 5 or 7 seconds. It's your only chance.
Yep.
If it's 30 seconds entering the last K, Demi can just freewheel and then just beat you in sprint. That's what happens. Demi wins. To be honest, it's deserved. She's the strongest rider in the race. FDJ played it perfectly. She wins her 4th race of the year. She wins Omloop for the first time, and on her schedule, I believe I said this was not happening. It wasn't happening last year, but she's doing the Tour of Flanders.
Yep.
I'm pretty excited about that.
I agree.
Kopecky, what do you shoulda, woulda, coulda? Do you reckon she's there?
Would have won the race, just saying. No, that's my... I was actually expecting her to win the race. I'll be completely honest about that, but it's impossible to say that. She could have dropped on the Muur, very possibly. She could have been in the position Wiebes was in, and therefore been gapped and had to close down a gap and lose energy and therefore not win in the end. But I reckon Omloop is a perfect race for Lotte Kopecky, so it's an opportunity gone, and there's nothing she can do about it because it's her derailleur that bottled it because of that crash incident. But I do actually expect Lotte to be back this year. I think last year was a bit of a year where, especially at the Tour de France, it didn't really go that well. But then by the end of the year, I think she destroyed everyone in the Omnium together with Shadi Bossait on track, which I know we both don't give a fuck about track cycling, but...
That's not true. I care about track cycling more than cyclocross.
Yeah, I remember because you had this one Hong Kong dude that was pretty good at track cycling. Was it done?
Yeah, Hong Kong guys in the juniors and U23s decent on the track, yeah.
But then he went to school. Was that it?
He hasn't made it yet. But he might. No, the track. I watched the track because the track produces good road cyclists, unlike cyclocross, who, I mean, do you know, when was the last time the cyclocross world champion won a road race? So,
true.
What have we learned from the women's race today? I think SD Works look a little bit weak. I think Visma without Voss, not really in the mix. I think Balsamo was much worse than I expected. She was not in Group 2. And I think FDJ looked very, very good.
But I do have one more lesson. SD Works and FDJ Suez looked at last year and said, we won't let that happen again. We're both going to collaborate on controlling the breakaway. And I think that's a positive evolution in the sport of cycling.
Yeah.
Because last year was a bit of that was a crazy final for that race. The fact that the break won with Lotto Class. But that
we
was
had two train stoppings today. Did we mention that?
At the start of the men's race at least once?
And during the women's.
Okay. Does it matter?
Well, it's just happened twice.
Patrick, are you subscribed to that TikTok dude with his camera in his mouth that looks at trains?
Francois Bourgeoisie.
Is that not just the people of France that live in luxury, the bourgeoisie?
I think that's his stage name. No, I have a different level of how's a delicate way of putting it? Of
I'm very curious what you're gonna say because
very impassioned interests.
What is impassioned?
Very diligent.
Another word.
Diligent and esoteric interests.
I have no clue what esoteric is, Patrick.
I
try in Dutch.
Your hobbies are a bit weird, huh? You like that? That's what you do on the weekend?
Okay. What else are we doing here?
No, I'm not subscribed to the Train Man, but I know who he is. And listen, whatever floats your boat. I did Harry Potter Lego today. You've got Lord of the Rings satanic Lego in the background. He who is without sin shall cast the first stone, and we are not those. So,
talking about sin, I thought you were going to complete the segue, but apparently I'm the only one that's in tune.
Oh yes, salvation was upon us in Ardèche. We had perhaps the man to stop Pogacar. Paul Seychelles there is a heavy favorite. Sorry, Benji, that segue took me a while. It is a hard, hilly race. They changed the parcours a little bit. There's a 18-minute climb, and it's called Saint-Romain-de-l'Eure, and then which was a bit closer to the finish before, more like 30 Ks. Then a fast technical descent, flatter section, and then a 4 to 3 minute climb called the Val d'Enfer. It's the European road race course of last year. And last year there was one lap of the punchy climb. It was close to the finish. This year they extended it out. They did 2 laps of the punchy climb. So I thought having numbers after the long climb would be more advantageous. Another man had other ideas. Decathlon controlled the race. Jordan Labrosse so Saint-Romain-de-l'Eure, the first 5 minutes is very steep, then it levels off, then there's a flatter section, and the last 5 minutes is steep, 7% again. Jordan Labrosse just drills it from the bottom, and Paul Seychelles just literally rides the entire race off his wheel one by one.
And the most insane moment to me is the way he dropped Jorgensen. Jorgensen is on his wheel, Seychelles grabs his beat on, takes a sip, and as he's drinking his water bottle, Jorgensen just cracks off the wheel. He's not even pushing his pedals hard. It looks like he's doing it easily.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy shape. The numbers actually, the speed they did was, crazy performance. Like Jorgensen did a good performance. Like the estimations of Seychelles, again, this is I think, in the modern era, i.e. like post Lance.
Okay.
I think this is the best ever climbing performance outside of the Tour.
That might actually be true. Actually,
did Poggi do anything crazy in the Giro 24?
Was this not a similar performance to Poggi's Saint-Romain-de-l'Eure at the Europeans? Or was this stronger?
True.
That's the one where I think it might be the same.
And Lombardia. So
I don't think it's about, but the fact that it's in the discussion to begin with
in February. We're in February. It's definitely the best ever climbing performance in February.
Paul Seychelles is the best 19-year-old cyclist, in my opinion, of all time.
I think he's the best rider of all time.
It's a bit early to say that. I've got my satanic altar right there, so I'm not sure I can be so holy of this man.
I think think he's been sent here and to save us this Tour de France.
You say that, but the reality is we can all hype up, okay, we're going to have 3 years of Pogacar versus Sixas being the best cycling we've ever seen.
Pogacar will retire as soon as Seychelles drops him.
Like, isn't this the same as when we had that year with Van Vleuten and Vollering crossing each other, and we all expected like 1 or 2 Tour de France FUMs where it would be like them clashing at the highest level against each other, but instead it's just one rider passes the other, not at the same level, and the other rider starts winning phenomenally. And I'm sorry, but can't they just try and make sure they're at a similar level for a couple of years? And are we hopping it up too much? I don't think we're not.
No, he went faster than Pogacar on the climb.
Yeah.
By the way, doing it solo, it solo from the bottom. And on the flatter section, he held back because he thought Jorgensen was bluffing. So he could have gone faster. Pretty crazy performance. Anyway, drops Jorgensen. Jorgensen goes back to Kristen and Martinez. He gets finessed a bit. Seychelles wins in a solo. His descending was absolutely beautiful. His descending was actually very incredible to watch. It was really, really good.
I was just reminded, Patrick, that if he wins tomorrow, you have to eternally hate Paul Sixels because you said you had to do that last week.
He's got to stop. Yeah, don't start doing too many solos.
If the big climb is 40K from the finish, he has to, right?
So sick of solos. He's doing Strata. I don't mind. Pro Race, do what you want. And if he goes to Strata in this shape against Pog, I'll be hyped. I'll be so hyped. I don't expect it. I'll be honest. Kristen, Martinez, Jorgensen, they're kind of looking at each other. They still keep it going on they roll on the flat sections. Jorgensen that sort of half attacks on the hill. They don't get away. Martinez and him get away on the last rep. Kristen comes back. He was maybe playing with them a little bit, and then Kristen wins the sprint. Martinez third, Jorgensen fourth. In a group behind, we had Piganzoli and Schkelmoser for a long time. Schkelmoser, he tried to pace the climb, Schkelmoser style, and didn't work out for him. He misses the group of Jorgensen and Martinez and Kristen. But he drops Piganzoli. He comes fifth. Piganzoli sixth. Huge gaps. I mean, we're talking 148 to second. Schkelmers was on 207. Piganzoli 218. Bernal 234. Jefferson Cepeda 346. And then Vercher was 10th on 421.
Matteo.
Yeah.
That's a good result.
That's a good result. Different race to last year where,
it's 20 though.
Like Gregoire, the punchers, Tullett, Brenner. Brenner was, by the way, in Group 1 last year. Gregoire, Healy, the punchers got completely rinsed today.
Yeah. But what does that mean for Vonderom Classic, which is...
It's easier.
Yeah, that's the punchy race of the two, but there's also a bigger climb with 38 kilometers to go. It's 4 kilometers at 6.3%, so it's not comparable, followed by the Côte de Robert, which 1.6 at 7.7%. Do you reckon he'll go for a 40K solo again? Because can Paul Sixas just depend on his kick at the end of the finish? On the 1K 5% climb?
I think he has to go on the 4K climb. Because Ayuso went solo and won there last year.
Yeah.
I think it'll be harder for him to do. I think for Jorgensen, it's a better climb to follow. And but we'll see. I think his team wasn't that deep today. So if you're Seychelles, do you want to get in a game with Piganzoli, Kristen, Martinez, Jorgensen, Tullett tomorrow? Schkelmoser will be in that group. Yeah, I think you want to just make a selection there.
Good ride up Piganzoli, by the way. 2 minutes 18 back.
Yeah, not bad.
Okay.
We'll save Sardinia and Rwanda for the weekly show, but Quickstep were winning there. And who do you think wins Kona? Are you going to update anything?
I had Matthew Brennan. He did hit the deck today, so I'm actually quite worried about it. I'm quite worried about it. It also is completely dependent on whether Mathieu van der Poel joins the start list, because he's deciding this evening whether he runs Kuurne or not. I think after today he should ride it.
He never won it, right? He got caught in 21 with Narvaez late.
exactly. I think the wind conditions do favor attacks, but it's less favorable than Omloop. So I don't actually know where it's going to go. You have a name?
Do I have a name? I'm going to go Lawrence Pithy.
Yeah, it's the race he brought himself to the forefront when it comes to these kind of races. If it's a sprint, I'm calling. If it's a sprint, I don't believe Milan will still be there because I'd expect a more offensive sprint race.
I don't think Milan survives.
So I'm leaning a bit. Lund Andresen looked very strong today.
So that's Lund's a good pick for the sprint.
I think Manier can do better than he showed today because of that mechanical. I think he would be in that second peloton by the finish.
Shouldn't Decathlon ride 100% negative as if they're Trek for Milan for Lund? That's their best chance of a result.
With this list of riders, yes, except that I would like to see an offensive Alvarez just to see what he can do. Personally.
No, Decathlon, not Trek.
Oh, sorry, Decathlon. Ooh, I think yes.
Yeah.
Because Lund himself will be one of the better riders.
Yeah, exactly. So he's looking very, very good, Lund. But yeah.
I don't know what Philipsen would have done today if he didn't have the mechanical.
Exactly, yeah. The mech took him out. Although Manier made it back from that same situation.
Philipsen DNF'd.
Yeah. So, it's not like
he needs it more, though.
You reckon Rudolph said to Phillips in the race, hey, tomorrow's another day? Actually, yeah. Mathieu has a 1 minute gap. Think about tomorrow.
Go to bed. Jasper,
maybe that is what they did.
It's possible.
Was the Rudolph network in effect today? I think it was.
Of course it did.
Yeah, it was.
The cobblestones are part of the Rothoff network.
First, Flum is crashing, and then Laporte gets taken out on the wheel of Van der Poel. And then
Vermeer's riding.
Then Florian Vermeersch is like, Mads Pedersen, I know you're not here, but in honor of you, let me just rip this gap. Anyway, hey, if you want to be in position, if you want to make the move, Benji, you know what the solution is.
Be ahead.
Be ahead. Be first into the Molenberg. Florian Vermeersch was first into Molenberg. He gets to decide what he wants to do.
Okay.
I think that's it. Hopefully tomorrow's a good race. I think it will be.
Tom Krabbe rides tomorrow. I want to see what he can do.
Yeah, Tom Krabbe's in good shape. He stopped hiding his Strava data.
I'm going to stay with my pick, Brennan, because of the fact that he got up quickly from the crash and he better be all right, okay? Otherwise...
I think the door looks good.
Yeah, attacking-wise, definitely, but I'm like in between where I'm like, I expect it to be like
potentially a sprint?
No, if it's a sprint, it's a 30-man sprint for me. You know?
And then what? The door is leading out, Brennan.
But if it's a 30-man sprint, then there's not enough domestiques to control the attacks, then that's going to be an attacker
That's why I'm thinking the door.
Oh. But Brennan's also not a defensive rider if he's in those positions. Yeah, but he's a deck of
60.
I don't know what you just said, but...
I reckon Pithy in a small group.
Okay. I'm going to go with... Don't bet against Van der Poel. I'm going with Van der Poel.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, thanks for listening as always. We'll be back with Kerner and Dromardesh tomorrow. Trome Classic, rather. Until then, ciao, ciao.